It's Robert with Skinny Trails. I wanted to go over a foot care system that I use to avoid blisters or any issues with my feet when I'm out hiking, backpacking, walking, whatever. The gear plays an important role, but a lot of it takes place even before you get your gear. So before you actually purchase your system, you're going to want to do a lot of research. You want to go online, look at reviews. If you have a good local store that has a good variety of shoes and boots, you'll want to go there, try things on. Online has a lot of good resources. Before you purchase from anybody online, you just want to review their refund policy just in case you do get it and it doesn't fit properly, or there's pressure points that don't work with your foot, just so you can make sure you can return it without any problems. You're going to want to wear whatever system you developed before the activity. So basically you don't want to go out and purchase it and then all of a sudden head out. You want to wear it like the boots that I wear. At this point I'm pretty much wearing them every day, so it's not an issue. But before I was doing that, before I would go out on any type of activity, I would wear them for a week ahead of time just to get my feet kind of used to and fitted with that particular boot. Your feet will change depending on the shoe that you're wearing, and if you're doing this, the footwear will kind of shape to your foot, and if there are any issues with that, you'll find out as you wear it before your actual activity. And if you're going to be taking a long distance hike or backpacking trip, take a shorter one. See how that works, and then maybe step it up a little bit longer. You don't want to get out there and find out that you've got a problem when you're day 3 on a 12-day backpacking trip. So just get out there and do a couple trips ahead of time just to make sure that it's going to work and it's not going to cause problems. Whatever adventure you go on, you're probably spending a little bit of money, you're probably taking time off work, and so if you take a little bit of time ahead of time, you're not going to waste that by running into problems out in the field. You'll want to care for your feet before the activity. If you think that you can, the night before, trim your toenails, file off any calluses and things like that, you're going to leave your feet a little more susceptible to problems. So just make sure that ahead of time, just as a regular routine, keep your feet clean, keep your nails trimmed. If you have any calluses or irregularities on your feet, you'll want to make sure that you address those. And listen to your feet when you're doing anything, backpacking, hiking, walking. Listen to what they're telling you. If you're starting to feel hot spots or certain sharp pains or things like that, you may want to rest. May be necessary to re-sock. You know, and I've been out there before and had a sock that worked great for snowboarding, nice wool sock, but it wasn't really the best sock for going up and down hills all day long. So I re-socked with a sock liner and my darn tough socks, and it worked perfect. And sometimes it may be necessary to put on some moleskin or other products that are made to prevent blisters. But listen to your feet. A lot of times we feel it, but then we just want to make another extra mile or so. And as soon as you feel it, take care of it. And you want to make sure that you have first aid and that you know how to use it. Because if all else fails and something does go wrong, you want to be prepared. Just make sure that you have things in it like bandages, disinfectant, moleskin or other products. And you'll want to carry a needle of some kind, like a safety pin that you can sterilize in case you need to deal with a blister that's starting to actually build up fluid in it. Okay, and if you do get a blister, if you have a broken blister and they're leaking fluid, you'll want to use some type of disinfectant and cover with a bandage, especially if you're in an area where you may get it dirty or you're going to put it back in your boot. The boot will be rubbing up against it, or the sock will. Cover it with something so that it's rubbing up against that instead of the blister. If you have an unbroken blister and it's painful and it's starting to fill up with fluid, you may want to prick it with one of the sterile safety pin that you have so that it doesn't break and become a jagged mess. It's got a nice controlled little hole that you've made with the needle to let the fluid out, and then it stands a better chance of healing. It's got your own skin that's protecting it, so it's in a lot better shape. And then if you've got a small blister that you feel it's not really painful, don't mess with it. Don't bother popping that prematurely. You're better off at that point just resting, resocking, and mole up or whatever product you got. The footwear that I use, the Injinji Liner Crew toe socks, darn tough quarter cushion socks. I'm now using the Vasque Breeze 2 Mid GTX hiking boot. And I also have non-traditional ways of lacing my shoes. There's certain areas of my feet that are a little irregular, and by lacing my shoes differently I can reduce pressure points. And when all else fails, I've got mole skin, and I may throw that on if I feel any areas that may feel like they might be a problem. And again, my foot care system, to get a little more in detail with it, we've got the Injinji, the Liner Crew toe sock, and these aren't new, I just repackaged them for this, but they don't come dirty like that. But basically what these are, they're toe socks, so they keep your toes separated and they kind of help keep everything drier. If your toes are together, you'd be sweating between your toes would be rubbing up against each other. You might have a nail that's kind of digging into the other side. So by having these toe socks, kind of keeps them separated and dry. It's also, there's no cushion to these really at all. They're just meant to be a liner and to absorb moisture. The moisture creates friction, so by eliminating the moisture, you're creating less friction. Also with these socks, when you've got another sock over them, rather than this sock rubbing on your foot, it's rubbing up against this, so it provides friction in between these two rather than in between your skin and the sock. And this is made out of a 75% Cool Max polyester, 21% nylon, and 4% lycra spandex, and tends to wick the moisture away from your foot. And then along with that, if you add to that system another sock, like some type of wool sock is usually real good. The darn tough socks are what I use. They're a custom count shrink treated fine gauge merino wool sock. And basically, if you haven't experienced merino wool, if you're used to any kind of wools that they used to have in the old days, they were itchy. If they got moist at all, they produced an odor. But with the merino wool, you don't have the odor. They're not itchy at all. I'm not sure if it's because of the science that goes into the way that they develop that custom count, shrink treated, and all that stuff, or if it's just the merino wool itself. Every merino wool sock I've had, whether it be the darn tough, wigwam, I think they call it, and smart wool, they all tend to not smell. They're not itchy. I can wear them in the summer and the winter. When I first got them, I thought they were silly for mentioning summer, but for whatever reason, they keep you warm in the winter and cool in the summer. They dry very quickly. The way that these are designed, they wick the moisture away from you and allow it to dry a lot quicker away from your foot. And then boots. I've been wearing Vasque boots for probably 20 years now. The ones that I wear now are the Vasque Breeze. I started out with the Vasque Sundowner, not this one, but Sundowner years ago. Then I got these. These are a little more summer oriented. They could be considered a 3-season boot. They're not really, wouldn't work well in the winter time. They're 2 millimeter thick nubuck leather mid-height uppers, and these have airy nylon mesh panels. And whether they be the newer one that I got or the older ones, these are the Breeze GTX, and these are the Breeze 2 GTX. The GTX is basically just a Gore-Tex liner. Okay, and then the footwear that I wear now, I wear boots, and a lot of people, they don't like the weight of a boot, so they went with trail running shoes. That's fine if that works for people. I wear these every day, so I'm used to them. I do like the ankle support that it gives me. I've been wearing them so long, I am concerned that if I didn't have that ankle support, that it would be a problem. Somebody that doesn't wear them every day, their ankles may be a little stronger because they're not relying on this every single day to support their foot. But I do, so I like when I go out on the trail and I may encounter a lot of rocks and stuff like that. I do like to have that. And I'll put up with the 2 pound 9 ounces that this one is. The non-Gore-Tex version is 2 pounds 7 ounces. And the Gore-Tex is another thing that you'd want to consider. For me, I like it because I spend time walking in shallow water that's not going to go over the top of my boots. I don't spend a tremendous amount of time in the rain. If you do either of those, walking in water that's going to go over your boot, or you're in the rain, the Gore-Tex is not going to do well for you at all. It's going to slow down the drying process of the boot. And the Gore-Tex, even though it's breathable, it's not as breathable as not having a Gore-Tex liner at all. And so you want to weigh those. Price-wise, this was $170. The non-liner was $150. Right now they're reduced to $126 for the Gore-Tex liner and $111 for the, not for this one, but for the non-Gore-Tex liner. And they've got gusseted tongues, so it just helps keep the debris and water out of the boot. It's also got wicking nylon mesh lining that absorbs excess moisture and disperses it for faster drying. So basically a liner additional to the Gore-Tex liner helps absorb the water and wick it away from your foot, and then disperses it throughout the boot to help dry it out faster. And these boots, like the socks, also no odor if cared for properly. Even this one here that's just very old doesn't have an odor to it. I've taken these out and abused them, worn them for days at a time without changing socks, and they have no odor to them at all. But I do care for them properly. When I'm not using them, I've got these silicone packets that I get out of like vitamin supplements, and I save them and I just throw them into my boots when I'm not using them. Also, the boots, they have a sole that just pulls right out of them. When I'm not using them, I just kind of pull them out and stand them up so they dry properly. But yeah, basically, if they're cared for properly, they won't develop an odor, and you can get them to last as long as the actual sole will last without any type of odor. It's also got a dual density footbed and molded midsole that absorbs shocks and provides cushioning. Basically, all this down here is developed using different densities of material that give it flexibility in areas that needs to be flexible and stiff where it needs to be stiff. And you can actually feel the difference in the density in the different areas, and it's designed to just make your foot move the way it should be moving and keep it from getting damaged. It's got a thermoplastic urethane plate embedded in the midsole, which enhances stability and support. It's also got aggressive Vibram contact rubber outsoles to enhance stability and traction in demanding terrain. Now, demanding terrain like rocks, dirt, things like that, terrific. They work great. The Vibram soles last for a long time. Areas where they don't do well is on wet tile floors, anything that isn't very porous, that like tiles, glass, ice. You wear if you're going to be walking on ice, because this is going to slip right out from under you. It's not really designed for that. Okay, so I did want to show you a couple things about the different ways that I lace my shoes. I've got an area right here that's sensitive, and it always presents an issue with pressure if I lace it the normal way, the way that you would crisscross it all the way up. So I've kind of gone around it. Right now I've gone all the way around it, and you can do it different ways. You can cross it over and then grab it like that. There's nothing that would keep me from doing it all the way up there and completely removing that. The only thing you do want to watch that you avoid, you still want to have the boot secured to your foot with the laces so it's not slopping around. But this still holds it. This still holds it on my foot very well, but it doesn't press on that bone there that causes problems on my left foot. And another thing that I do, when I lace it or when I tie it, occasionally, I don't know if this would even have that problem, but sometimes if you lace it up and it continues to come undone, rather than, I used to tie it by going like that, wrapping it around once. Now the way that I tie it, I wrap it around once, then a second time, then through, and then it kind of binds up a little. If I just grab and push down on that, you'll feel it pop, and then you can pull it. And my shoes never come undone when they're like that until I want them to, and then they just pop out. And let me just show you one more time. I wrap it not just once, but a second time, and then through and pull it. Again, it binds up, so I push down on that knot until it pops, and then I just pull it tight. And that's it. Hope that was helpful. Leave any questions or comments down below. Please subscribe and tell a friend, and have fun.